A Bully Good 4th of July, Story 217, Part 1. One day, not long ago, Paul and I arrived at the home for wayward wiener dogs. We could see Bubba, the faithful and under-your-feet wiener dog, working the grill. The Sisters of St. Oscar Myers were setting up tables, while some of the puppies from the home were playing baseball. Others were playing tag, chasing each other around the grounds, or showing one another new tricks they had learned. It was a grand day at the home. It was the 4th of July. Bubba barked hello as we walked up to him. The nuns saw me and started growling and baring their teeth. The little dogs have never forgiven me for the time I asked them what you call a rabbit with fleas. Bugs Bunny. Bubba flipped the burgers and kibasi over and barked he wanted to tell me about July 4th, 1902, and the visit of President Theodore Roosevelt. It was 8:05 a.m. when the special train carrying the President of the United States stopped in Wilkinsburg, 4 miles from Union Station in Pittsburgh. A special committee boarded the train to welcome the young leader. The chairman of the welcoming committee was Colonel Albert J. Logan. A member of the Pennsylvania State Militia, he had helped keep order in Johnstown following the flood in 1889, and 3 years later, during the Homestead Steel Strike of 1892. The Attorney General of the United States, Philander Knox, introduced the committee to Roosevelt. Knox was from Brownsville, Pennsylvania. 20 minutes later, at 8:55 a.m., the presidential train arrived at Union Station. A cannon atop Heron Hill began firing a 21-gun salute. Roosevelt exited the train and, as usual, walked up to the engine to shake hands with the engineer and assistant engineer. Then he went to his carriage for the 4-mile ride to Schenley Park, where he was to speak. In 1902, Pittsburgh's population was just over 320,000, but over 500,000 lined the streets that day, coming from industrial towns and farms as far away as 150 miles, for the 4th of July celebration and Roosevelt's visit. Almost 3,000 troops escorted the president's carriage and the other 18 carriages of dignitaries. The crowds were 5 or 6 deep as the carriages made their way down Liberty Avenue before turning up Fifth Avenue. The president's carriage was being pulled by 4 black horses with gold-mounted harnesses. The driver was John Brooks, who had driven Presidents Benjamin Harrison and William McKinley on their visits to the city. Thousands hung out the windows of the tall buildings from which flags and bunting flew, cheering themselves hoarse and welcoming Roosevelt. The massive crowd, seeing the president wearing his black silk hat, black Prince Albert coat, gray striped trousers, and a gold watch that dangled from his coat pocket, cheered wildly as he flashed his famous toothy grin. On Fifth Avenue, near the present-day Birmingham Bridge, the president stood and waved enthusiastically to the crowd lining the sidewalks. Just as he passed 2208 Fifth Avenue, the wife of Bernard Lager gave birth to a baby boy. They planned on naming him Theodore Roosevelt Lager. Almost 25,000 people were gathered at the reviewing stand and on the hillside in Schenley Park, where the president was to give a speech. As his carriage stopped, a band played a rousing rendition of Hail to the Chief. When they finished, the 600-member choir of the United German Societies of Allegheny rose to their feet and began to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Following the invocation and a reading of the Declaration of Independence, President Roosevelt addressed the crowd. He spoke about Cuba and the Philippines, and then the danger of the accumulation of wealth by only a few individuals and corporations. For the Pittsburgh Police Department, Roosevelt's visit was a nightmare. It had been only 10 months since Roosevelt became president with the assassination of William McKinley. See Story 181, The Milburn House of Delaware Avenue. In the previous 3 decades, Lincoln, Garfield, and McKinley had been shot in public and died. Just as President Roosevelt exited the train at Union Station, Pittsburgh Director of Public Works A. H. Leslie was handed a note that read, "Angelo, you will proceed to Pittsburgh by Pennsylvania Railroad. On arrival in Pittsburgh, take a streetcar to Schenley Park, where you will find Mr. Bill and the other men at work. You have to take a package with you." The man who passed along the note said he feared the package might have a bomb that anarchists would use to kill Roosevelt. Police arrested the man immediately. Since he was hard to understand, an interpreter was brought in. It was learned that the package did not carry a bomb, but had tools needed for the large fireworks display the city was putting on that night. He was released. End of part 1.